What is going on, Blue Crew? We've got a pretty good show for you today, I think. And, I think we're just going to jump right on into this.
All our shows are good.
Yeah,
Aren't they?
Every time we go live, you know what I want to do? I want to pretend like
I don't want to know what you want to do.
No, I want to pretend like you and I are the Hodge twins, and I'm going to go, yeah, we got a good show for y'all today. And then I want you to go,
we're definitely not twins.
We got a dang good show for you today. Anyway,
although you are starting to get a little gray.
A little starting. Dude, I've been gray for a while. But you know what? I don't have a full gray like you do. That's sexy, brother.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You know, hey. Should we take a challenge? See if they can guess how old I am? No, we won't. Okay. All right.
Well, here's the thing, and what we're gonna do. So, this is actually a very hot topic. What we're gonna talk about today. And so today's Blue Crew Live is titled "Things Aren't Always as They Appear." And we're going to talk about that. Our 3 greatest takeaways on the Derek Chauvin case so far.
So far.
Right? So far. And then what about Dante Wright? and we're gonna get into that. And
let me just emphasize first. Our goal here is not to necessarily pick a side, although we have our own personal strong opinions. Okay, but our goal here is to, what can we do better? What can you and I, all of us do better in the way that we perceive things, the way we act on things, the way we do things, the way we respond to things, because all of those things make a difference. And, of course, our goal here is to work on building that bridge between law enforcement and community. And one of the big things that we got to do is change the way that we think. The way we're processing, the way we react, etc. And so when we're looking at these things today, that's the mind frame we're coming from. We're not coming from an angle of throwing stones or saying this is the only way and this is the right way. We're coming at it from an angle of what can we do better to reinforce that bridge and be a country of one.
But and the thing is that, if we're not challenged, we're not changed.
Exactly.
And so the only way that we're really going to grow is to be challenged. The only way that we're going to see change is to challenge certain beliefs. And, it's fun doing it on our own, but it's a lot more fun whenever you're doing it together as a team.
We didn't get here because of one person.
No.
We got here because an entire country has shifted in the way we process, the way we think, the way we deal with things, and honestly, we just need to get back to the basics on some things.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
No, and whenever you said that we've shifted, I kind of feel like there's been 2 different shifts going on, because we have the nation going in one direction, which is really what sparked Bridge the Blue to begin with 3.5 years ago. But then this Silent No More campaign that we've been on for, what's it been, 9 months?
Almost.
Gosh, dog, 9 months. It's what we've seen is people swing on the pendulum way on the other extreme, right? And what it's done is it's created even this greater divide. Honestly, it's kind of, as Bridge the Blue, it's made our job a little more difficult, because now we have people that they want to defund, they want to disarm and dismantle law enforcement. Then way on the other side, we have people that are just so extreme. And what we're trying to figure out how to do, Blue Crew, is we're trying to figure out how to meet in the middle. And sometimes that means you give a little, you take a little, and sometimes, that can be very, very difficult to look at things objectively, to not get over emotional about things, to not, whenever I was talking to you about this earlier, there was a word that was, that I was trying to think of. And that word is, don't tell me I just had another brain fart. I just had it.
Anyway,
dadgummit. I'll think about it again. But what we don't need is law enforcement and law enforcement supporters doing that. And like I said, hopefully by the time that we finish this Blue Crew Live today, I'll have thought about that. But that's honestly one of my personal pet peeves is whenever people do that, and I just can't think of what it is off the top of my head. I'll think about it here in a bit.
Funny. So let's just let's take a look at the Floyd case and I mean there's a lot of things coming out just in the last 24, 48 hours, in the trial that make you go, wait a second.
Things that we didn't see a year ago.
Yeah, things that weren't known, that weren't released, et cetera.
And here's the other thing that's wild about that is if you follow alternative news stations, this stuff actually did come out on the I don't know what to call it, like the underground kind of news. Like this information was out there, but now it's in front of everybody to see.
It was only to a small audience for the most part.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, and unfortunately, which is another great point, that small audience doesn't take and push like we need to.
Yeah.
Okay. So when the good stuff is out there, people need to hear it. We need to be spreading it just as much, if not as harder, than what the fake news is spreading. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely.
So.
And I know, and one last thing I'll touch on, because I know one of the reasons why it doesn't get pushed that hard is because of fear.
Oh, definitely.
There's definitely a lot. There are a lot of people that they're afraid to have their social media account shut down. They're afraid of, and I look at it like this. Now, granted, after a conversation that I had with one of our moderators, I get that some people, there's some personal attachment to their social media accounts. Like in this instance, this person had some important voice messages from a loved one that is no longer with us today. And so it kind of gives her anxiety to think about losing her account, right? But I would say for most people, guys, if your social media account gets shut down, I mean, it's an inconvenience, but I mean, just create another account for crying out loud.
And there's other people that are fearful, talking about this moment right now with the court case and everything going on. There's some people afraid to voice your opinions because they're afraid of if the trial goes south according to what some want to see it go, then they're afraid of the ramifications and the riots and being tagged and so forth. In as far as what's going on right now, I say don't fear. Don't let that fear control you. We need to stand up, continue to stand up as one nation. Yeah. And we've got to voice our opinions. We've got to be heard. I've said this for months now. We've got to be louder than what the other side's doing. We've got to be louder. And over this last year, I've seen glimpses of that. I've seen glimpses of our country standing up together again, and being boisterous and so forth. But then it seems like that laxy-daisyness kind of settles back in. And, we can't just one-time it. We've got to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And we've got to keep making our voices heard. We've got to keep putting it out there and so forth and be louder and more obnoxious. Yeah. If that's the right word, than what the other side is. If we're going to actually make movement forward. Now, with that said, at the same time, we have to continue to build the bridges.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, for sure.
We can't come at it so hard and so strong that we're just trampling over people. We've got to do it in the right way, which what I've seen, that I've observed, over this last year, I see people doing that. I see the true American patriots, the people that love this country, the people that love law enforcement, the people that really want to see us get back on our feet. I haven't seen those people necessarily, not that everybody's perfect, because it's not the case, but excuse me, I haven't seen those people be obnoxiously wrong and hurting people or hurting, property or any of that kind of stuff. It's been more peaceful, initiatives that have been coming forward and so forth. And I love that part, but we got to keep the momentum. We can't let up.
And I think that with what we're going to talk about today, Blue Crew, these 3 takeaways, and these are things that Troy and I have discussed, looking at the data, looking at, looking at the videos that we've seen, and just looking at the progress of the Derek Chauvin trial so far. There are 3 main takeaways that I think that if we put these into practice. And here's the thing that I learned about knowledge, is that knowledge by itself won't change you. Mm-hmm. It's only the application of that knowledge that changes you. And so if we take what we're going to learn here today and we apply them, then I don't think we have to worry about alienating relationships.
That makes the difference.
I don't think that we have to worry about having our account shut down, because there is a way to stand up for the truth without being a jerk.
And these 3 takeaways, they're not rocket science.
No.
They're not.
No, not at all.
They're basic things for the most part that anybody can do. We all have the capability to do all 3 of these. So maybe uncomfortable at times. Maybe we got to push ourselves, but we can all do it.
Absolutely.
And it would make a huge difference. So take us.
Yeah, so here's what we know today, Blue Crew, that we didn't know a year ago. Okay, and if there's anything that comes to your mind as well, but Floyd was high on methamphetamines and fentanyl. Okay, now some of you guys might have heard Candace Owens talking about this, around a year ago, but we know this for sure. Okay, we also know that he was initially placed in the squad car. He was placed in the back. And when you go back and you watch the video footage, and we've all seen that one video, right? But you guys know there's more video footage, right? So he said that he was claustrophobic. He said that he couldn't breathe in the car, okay? So he could not breathe in the car, guys. The officers then offered to roll down the windows for him to make him feel more comfortable. At one point, he claimed that he had COVID. He had asked the officers to be laid down on the ground, right? He asked the officers to be taken out of the vehicle. He would feel more comfortable if he was laid down on the ground. And then months after the incident, we learn about this, of course. Months after the incident, they conveniently found Floyd's DNA in the backseat of the car, in the backseat of the squad car, along with half-eaten pills full of meth and fentanyl.
Now, these are just facts.
Yeah, these are facts.
These are facts.
Right? We're not saying that we're making a decision one way or the other.
No.
But, here's the thing that I've always said is that when we have to objectively look at the data, and wherever the facts lead us, then we have to follow, right? So these are some of the facts that wasn't revealed to us a year ago. They just weren't. Yeah. All that was revealed to us a year ago was a video along with a narrative. And then you have all of a sudden you start seeing things about white privilege and about racist cops. And all of a sudden last year it was just full of chaos and destruction. And this is how dangerous only having part of the truth can become. And so let's kind of talk about our 3 greatest takeaways on this case so far. Do you want to just kind of talk about number 1 there?
Yeah. I think that far too often, and this is just one example, okay, but far too often we have a tendency, I don't care who you are, okay, I don't care what your background is, etc. I'm just saying, on an average, all of us have a tendency to be quick to judge.
Yep.
Okay. And if I've learned anything over the years, I've learned this. We have all been raised and brought up and lived in different scenarios. Okay. We all have different lenses. We've seen life in a different way. And those life experiences cause us to walk out life in different ways than the other person. Okay, so I've learned not to judge that person too quickly. Now I have to be smart, and I have to come to some conclusions, as much as I can with the data that I have.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got to be slow and careful on how I act and what I say until I have a full picture.
I want to say there's even an example of this in the Bible, where it says
Really?
that we should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Here's one of the things that I know. Growing up, I feel like I need to go back to my Texas redneck. I can't say this without being Texas about it. God gave you two ears, 2 eyes, and 1 mouth, because you're supposed to listen twice as much as you talk, and you're supposed to watch what's going on twice as much as you talk to.
Yeah. Yep. It's so true.
And too many times we don't want to be quick to listen. We don't want to be slow to speak and slow to become angry. We want to not listen, right? We want to get angry immediately because we all have stuff going on in our lives. We're looking for somebody to blame and to vent our frustrations on. And then quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry. And we just want to run our mouth, right? We just want to run our mouth. And I've seen that ruin relationships. I've seen it ruin marriages. I've seen it separate churches. Mm-hmm. I've seen it separate businesses. Partners that go in 2 different directions, all because all we want to do is run our mouth. We don't want to listen to try to understand what's going on. Mm-hmm. We want to listen just enough to respond and try to one up the other person and win an argument.
Yeah. Now I will say in let's take law enforcement, for example. When an officer pulls up on a car, there's certain things that he can watch for to give him an idea of what is happening or what could happen. Mm-hmm. And with those limited bits of information, they have to make initial decisions, okay? And how they're going to approach, how they're going to do things, etc. And that's just one example.
Well,
but
and let me ask you, because I know that, what do they call your squad car? They call your cruiser?
Oh, the Black Ghost.
The Black Ghost. So I know that whenever you go into town, that you have a reputation, and it's a good reputation. But I know that whenever you pull somebody over, what I want to ask you is, how much could a split second cost you?
My life, or someone else's life.
I don't think that people truly understand what it's like, and it's funny because that training that we did last week, we talked about, firearms training, and we talked about, it's one thing to go into the range and just shoot at a target whenever everything's calm. It's totally different whenever you're being shot at. It's totally different whenever you're in the adrenaline, and that's actually why whenever I go to Brenham, me and my brother-in-law will actually run around my truck 3 or 4 times, get our heart rate up, and just kind of have that adrenaline running before we shoot, because that more mimics a real life scenario, but it still ain't like being shot at. Right. It still ain't like, and so that split second can cost you your life, somebody else's life. And you got a wife at home that wants you to come home, don't you?
Yep. Still have 1 kid left at home. So, but my point in that is that there are times where we have to make a split initial decision. Yeah. Based on what little information that we do have. But I think far too often we take that way out of context and way out of balance, and we make those snap decisions way quicker than what we need to, in everyday life. Wow, I'm going to get me on a soapbox here, because it literally can ruin people's lives so quickly because of that. So, and this is an example, whether the officer is right or wrong, we're not talking about that today. But whether he was right or wrong in the way that he handled this situation, okay, the media portrayed it one way. Okay? And we took that information and made a judgment that quick. Most did, that quick, about what happened and who was right and who was wrong. Okay? And it literally turned our country upside down.
Yeah.
Okay? So if we would have waited, if the media would have waited and just put what little facts they had out, no judgments, no nothing, we would have had an entirely different scenario than where we are today.
But you know, they're not going to do that.
They're not.
They're not going to do that.
There's an agenda.
Because pain sells.
Yep.
You know, it's funny because, you know, I was having a conversation with our Bridge of Blue moderators, which is really quick. Shout out to our Bridge of Blue moderators. You guys are rock stars.
Amen.
But even some of them were saying that there's something about conflict that just kind of is attractive. And I think we were even talking about that a little earlier.
Which one are you going to go see Friday night? You going to go see an action movie or a romance movie?
Right.
If you have your choice, which one are you going to go see?
Yeah.
Romance movies are awesome. I love romance movies. You know, especially if you're snuggled up to your girl on the couch.
Usually there is an agenda whenever.
Not necessarily. But, you know, it's good. Romances are good. But I'm telling you, 9 out of 10 of us love an action-packed movie. So it's been distilled into us. You know, we love that friction. And so we feed off of it.
Yeah. And here's the thing, the media knows that. The media knows that if it can write some, and we'll talk about this here in a few minutes, but the media knows that if it can write some heinous headline that's going to pull you in, that you're going to watch that video, you're going to read that news article. And here's the thing is, you guys, we're being duped. We are being duped. Okay. They're creating a narrative using very little information, and they could care less whether or not somebody gets hurt as a result. They could care less about David Dorn. Whenever here he is, black police chief, and killed by BLM Antifa. Does his life matter? They don't care about that.
No,
all they care about is the ratings and making money.
The agenda.
You know, and here's the thing, Troy, is that money is not the root of all evil, but the love of it is. I remember being told one time that it's okay to have money, but it is not okay for money to have you.
No.
And what we have a bunch of media outlets, and that all they care about is the money, and they don't care who they hurt in the process. Yeah. And as long as they can grab your attention, then they're going to spend whatever they need to in order to keep it, because it boosts their bottom line. And so, but anyways, back to you know, we're too quick to make these decisions, right? We need to take everything the media says with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
we really do.
Yeah. And the media as well as the people around us. You know, I mean, be careful what your friend says on Facebook. Yeah. You know, do they actually have all the information? You know, I mean, we just need to be slow down. Consider the facts. Consider the sources. Yep. Right. And, you know, if it's a study, right, are there 2 or 3 other independent researchers that have verified the study, right? Because here's who are they and where are they coming from? Because that's something else that I see. I don't think you guys know how easy it is for me to go to Google and buy a domain name for $12 and then go to, you know, some value hosting company like GoDaddy or HostGator, buy hosting for like, you know, I don't know, $9-10 a month, and then just slap a website up and call myself a reporter. I'm an investigative reporter. I'm an online web sleuth or whatever. And then I just craft my own narratives, and I can say whatever I want to say and then push it out there on social media. And because I'm doing the same thing the mainstream media is doing, but maybe from the other side, all of a sudden you have a bunch of either, I'm going to say it, conservatives or even law enforcement supporters that then share that, and it's still misinformation. Mm-hmm. So we need to be very careful, guys, where we're getting our information from, who we're trusting, and we need to be free thinkers in all of this. Yep, I agree. You know, second one we already touched on just a little bit, but real people have real problems.
Yeah, and again, we're talking about the 3 greatest takeaways that we've taken from this this Derek Chauvin case so far.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, real people have real problems, and here's the thing: is that, and whether you want to agree with this or not, George Floyd was somebody's son,
Yep.
somebody's uncle, brother, nephew, grandson. And same for Derek Chauvin. He's got a family. And guy, this could have happened to any of us. It could have happened to you in your department, right? We don't know. And so, real people, guys, have real problems, and here's what we've seen over the last year. And some of it's even happened in this group. The majority of people, I would say, has been very respectful, which really says a lot about our blue crew. But we tend to want to call things like we see them, right? I'm just going to say it like it is. And, but here's the thing, and this is something that we believe and we want to make sure that we share with you, is that just because we want to call things like we see them and we want to speak truth, that doesn't give us a license to be heartless in the situation. I know that George Floyd's family is hurting. And if you think that they're not just as much a victim to this narrative as we are, I would say maybe they're even more victims to it. Mm. And so we need to not be hurt by people, guys. We need to hurt for people. It's really hard. I can tell you this. It's really hard to be mad at somebody if you're praying for them. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to be offended by someone if you're serving them in some way. And guys, serving isn't about you. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's not about you. Serving is about the other person. Mm-hmm. It's about, and I share this all the time, is that, and forgive me, I don't remember what scripture, what verse, but for the Son of Man didn't come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. And I'm not trying to get churchy up in here, but we've got to understand that these are real people. This isn't a game. These are their real lives. And just because we want to speak what we think is the truth, and it may be true, doesn't give us a license to be a jackhat about it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. So just love on people, let's be careful. Again, we've all got different lenses, and you don't know what that person's life was like. Now, with that said, we all grow up to be adults, and we all have to make our own decisions.
Come on.
Okay? No matter what our previous years and upbringing were like, we ultimately have to make our own decisions, and we have to choose right from wrong.
And we have to live with the consequences of those decisions, good or bad.
Yep. There's a reaction to every action. Yeah. And, we got to face that, all of us. So, anyway, so that's the second one. And the third one that we'd like to really throw out there is, and we've touched again on it already a little bit, but stop listening to mainstream media.
Yeah.
There is a heartless agenda, okay, that they are walking out, and it is not for you and I. It is not for us. They have their own agenda. They've got their own narrative they're pushing. They are ruthless. They do not care. You said a minute ago, they don't care about you and I.
No.
That's not why they're in business. That's not why they're doing what they're doing. And I'm not trying to label every reporter out there. I'm not trying to label every single company out there, but I'm saying overall, mainstream media is sick.
Yeah.
It's gross.
As a matter of fact, we actually know some reporters, people that work for mainstream media outlets that have been there for years, and they were looking forward to retirement, but it got so bad that they just up and quit. They're like, I can't be part of this machine anymore.
Yeah. It's terrible. And it's we say not to watch it, but the fact is some of us, or some of you, have watched it for so long, it's hard to break that habit.
Yeah.
It's hard to step outside of that box. But I'm telling you that the stuff that we put in, whatever we put into us, which as we watch it, that is being fed into us.
Yeah.
We will become. And I hate to say that. I mean, it's not the greatest illustration necessarily, but if we sit and eat pizza every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner,
we'll turn into a Ninja Turtle?
No, but that would be pretty cool. We are going to be extremely overweight, unhealthy, unhealthy.
What are you trying to say, man?
You're working on it.
I am.
You're working on it.
I am.
I see you eating, over the last several years, I see you eating better today than I've ever seen you eat, and it shows. You're losing it. You're trying to filter out those things that are not good for you.
And it can be difficult. I mean, I'll tell you right off the bat, it can be difficult. But what you're saying about the very things that we consume, as a matter of fact, I remember way back in the day in youth group days, garbage in, garbage out.
Yep.
God in, God out. And we're unconsciously programming our subconscious. And we don't even know it. But here's the thing, is that I promise you, and don't really want to talk about this too much, not the point of today, but I promise you that our government knows that. You can go back and look at, what was it, Operation, I want to say Mockingbird, I might be wrong about that, but back in the 50s with television and what they were doing to push, the agenda to paint things in a positive light, because they knew that if you could paint something in a positive light, then you can get the support of the people.
Yeah.
Right? It's unconscious. Unconscious means we don't know it's happening. And I think that's a good point.
I would actually encourage you to take a little time and actually go back and look at some studies. Look at studies of music, with plants or whatever. There's several of them out there with music, the types of music and how they affect the life of that plant or people, etc. There's so many different styles and types of studies like that prove, again, what you take in is what you become, and basically it all boils down to life or death.
And if the ultimate proof, I believe, is looking at, especially 2008 and beyond, how is it that up until 2008, we didn't really have a lot of race issues? We had support. I mean, coming off of 9/11, 01, we had more support for our law enforcement, for our fire and EMS, and for our military. And that went on for a while. Never forget.
Yep.
Really placing them in places of honor and respect. 2008 rolls around, and I'll let the people figure out what the heck I'm talking about. 2008 rolls around, and all of a sudden, over the next 8 years, all of a sudden race is now an issue again. All of a sudden now our law enforcement's being attacked. And there's been a lot of people wounded, killed. There's been a lot of stuff happen. Why has that? How has that happened? Because you're being told through mainstream media, because you're being told by, whenever whoever's in office flips on that TV and all the main news channels are shoving that crap down your throat. And then social media hasn't helped either.
Right.
Social media, there's been so much misinformation. And here's the thing I know for a fact is they claim that they care, but they don't really. They don't really care.
We can talk all we want, but action is where the proof is.
Yeah. Just look. How many people have been censored? And I'm not going to talk about this too much. I don't want that to happen to us. But how many people, if the freaking president of the United States can be censored, you really think they care about you? No, they care about controlling a narrative. And that's all I'm going to say about that, because I don't want to set off any triggers. Yeah. But
stop listening to the mainstream.
Here's something. Here's a prime example of why. So let's talk about Daunte Wright for a moment. Daunte Wright on Sunday, I believe it was Sunday, was pulled over for expired license plates. And this was in Minneapolis, I think. They have this, so he was pulled over for expired license plates. They also have this kind of dumb law. I mean, I'm just going to say it's kind of dumb about air freshener hanging from your
again, that's a personal opinion.
It is a personal opinion.
Okay.
It's dumb. But air fresheners hanging from your rearview mirror, it's actually against the law to do that there. The officers found out that he had a misdemeanor warrant out for his arrest, and then he was shot and killed Sunday on April the 11th. Now, we're not going to really spend a whole lot of time talking about this today because I've got another resource for you. But this is why we're saying stop listening to the mainstream media. I want to read to you a headline that I saw just this morning. Here's the headline. Daunte Wright was stopped for expired plates, but driving while black may have been his crime.
Bam.
You think that's not meant to bring division? Yeah. You think that's not meant to plant something in your head?
Can you say agenda?
And so again, we're not really going to talk too much about this, but one of our moderators, Victoria, she's about to share a video. And if Victoria isn't still with us, then
we'll get it out.
Yeah, we have Ben that he's also got that. So we've got backup just in case. I think she had a doctor's appointment or something. But they're going to share a video put out by Brandon Tatum. Okay, now Brandon Tatum is a former police officer. He was a police officer for either 6 or 8 years. And he's the co-founder of Blexit. Okay, now Blexit stands for the Black Exit from the Left. And he co-founded that organization alongside Candace Owens. And so late last night, he actually went live talking about that very topic. Looked like she just shared it there. I want to encourage you guys to watch that, because he does a beautiful job of breaking down with what we currently know, and he actually looks at the video. And again, he's former law enforcement. He knows how to break this thing down.
It's fact-based information.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to encourage you guys to check that out. But we wanted to bring that up as an example of a headline, because that headline. Here's the thing we know about most people today is that they don't read the entire article. They just don't. They read headlines and bullet points. And the media, mainstream media, knowing this, writes a headline: Daunte Wright was stopped for expired plates, but driving while black may have been his crime. Really? Yep. Really? But they care about us. No, they don't. You're being duped if you actually think they're reporting the truth. And so, anyways, any last words?
No, I mean, we're gonna call it here in just a minute. But again, these are 3 things that each and every one of us can work on. Yeah. That as we work on those and do better at all 3 of those things, there's going to be a bridge that is established and rebuilt automatically. I mean, it's one of those things we don't have to go and put a hammer to. It's one of those things that just automatically falls into place because we're falling into place. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. It'll happen automatically, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight.
No. There's a shift that's got to happen.
I thought you were getting ready to say something else. It is. I was like, live on Facebook?
What do I do with him?
I have never heard you even say that before. Anyways, shift. Shifting sand. By the way, I remember what that word was. I have to get it out there. Virtue signaling. So if you're wondering what the heck I'm talking about, go back to the beginning, watch the replay. And there was a word that I couldn't figure out. So whenever tragedy happens, like what happened, all of a sudden you have people come out of the woodworks like virtue signaling. Oh, I'm apologizing for my white privilege. And you have law enforcement come out saying, we don't support that. You don't have all the facts. How do you know you don't support what he did, right? So again, we're not making a decision one way or the other. This case is still ongoing. Anyways, I wanted to come back to that because that was really eating at me. And then after you said shift, not the other word, but shift. Yeah, that reminded me of the term virtue signaling.
I'm glad I could help.
You did. How about that? But yeah, it's going to be a process, guys. It's going to be a process, and we're willing. If you're willing to take the journey with us, because we'll do this by ourselves if we have to. I mean, Jesus was one man that changed the world. Mm-hmm. We're willing to do this by ourselves if we have to. It'd be a whole lot more fun and a whole lot more effective for you guys to come along for the ride.
Well, we've seen what happened after 9/11.
Yeah. Oh, man.
It's not the first time, but we've seen
goosebumps there.
After 9/11, as a country came together and started moving in one accord, okay, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was life-changing. It was incredible to watch. And we can have that back again and probably even better.
Yeah, come on. I believe that.
But it's going to take all of us to shift that thinking and to press in several ways. But here's 3 ways that every one of us can start today.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I just want to thank you for being on. If you have yet to join our Blue Crew newsletter, I want to encourage you to go to bridgetheblue.com. And if you just scroll down, maybe one scroll, you'll see to join our Blue Crew. That way you can be notified of opportunities to come and volunteer with us. You get the inside scoop on what's going on. We'll remind you whenever we're going to go live like this and just keep you up to date so that you don't have to miss out with what's going on with Bridge the Blue. Also want to invite you to invite others that support law enforcement. Want to encourage you to invite them to join the group and to join the conversation. And then here shortly, we're going to be starting a new fundraiser that we're going to be announcing for you guys. We're really looking forward to that. And shout out to Sherry, who's one of our moderators, for hooking us up with this PD out of Georgia. And we're really looking forward to that, guys. And so any last words before we jump off?
Love y'all. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
You're all amazing.
Yeah. God bless. Bottom right corner.